this the moment and a massive upset?
Kemi Badenoch, 42 votes. James Cleverly, 37 votes. And Robert Jenrick, 41 votes.
Audible gasps from MPs as James Cleverly, who had looked set for the final, is knocked out of the Tory leadership race. Conservative MPs voted instead for a Kemi Badenoch Robert Jenrick runoff. Cleverly's backers can barely believe it.
I'm still slightly in a state of disappointed shock. I'd signed James's nomination paper. I had encouraged him to stand. I was firmly behind him. So I'm very disappointed.
Shock because Cleverly had become the frontrunner after a successful party conference. But now the last centrist stand-in's been knocked out. The next leader of the party will come from the right. Badenoch now in pole position once more.
It is time to go bold. Just because you're not a first preference doesn't mean that people don't want you. And I think that that is what has happened throughout the contest. You could say that about any candidate. People have relationships, people have friends, they have constituency neighbours. These things feed into the MP stage of the contest. What matters now is what our members think.
Her rival Robert Jenrick less popular with party members, but he's hoping his hardline immigration stance wins out.
I want the party to once again occupy the common ground of British politics, which means fixing our NHS, finding ways to grow our economy, and yes, to secure our borders and control and reduce immigration. On each of these areas, I've got a real plan.
There is disbelief around here that James Cleverly has been knocked out of the race after being ahead. Absolutely brutal is how one of his supporters put it to me. So what went wrong? Well, it seems that some of his supporters, so certain their man would make the final two, decided to shift their votes to try and stop Badenoch or Jenrick, and in doing so killed off their own candidates. The Conservative Party will now be run by a right-winger, and that's leaving Labour MPs rubbing their hands in glee. This result could help the Tories fend off the threat of reform to the right, but the party needs a lot more than that to even be in the run-in at the next general election. Beth Rigby, Sky News, Westminster.
Now, I do just want to take a moment and take you through the numbers because it is all quite confusing. So this is the final round of MP voting, right? So we've seen James Cleverly eliminated. He actually lost MPs on 37. And these are the two who've made it through to the final round where members vote. Kemi Badenoch on 42, Robert Jenrick on 41. So things could not be closer. But just to show you the skullduggery, effectively, that was going on, because this is all completely bonkers, right? I want to start right from the beginning. This is the first round of MP voting. This is where things started off with. And then you can see people picking up, some people falling out, Mel Stride falls out. This is when things get really interesting, right? James Cleverly absolutely rockets, so he's got the momentum. The person who did best last time, which was Robert Jenrick, actually loses votes. So you're thinking, OK, I'm starting to get a grip of this. Robert Jenrick didn't have a great conference. James Cleverly is the one to beat. And then the next round, everything gets completely turned on its head again. James Cleverly, the guy who won last time, actually loses 2 votes, doesn't pick up anything from Tom Tugendhat, and it is the other 2 candidates who make it through to the final. The big question now, of course, is what happens next, because after MPs have had their say, it's now the turn of the party members. And this is the closest we get to finding out what they really think. This is Conservative Home polling. Head-to-head, the 2 candidates are still in it. Which candidate would you vote for? And you can see there, it's a pretty clear lead for Kemi Badenoch on 53%, Robert Jenrick on 33%. But I have to say, as we've seen in this race, we don't know what on earth is going to happen. It is an absolute roller coaster, and so I wouldn't, bet your houses on absolutely anything.